Today's conversation is one you need to hear if you have been caught in the cycle of short-term success with your fitness journey, followed by a long, slow backslide towards all of your old habits. We've all been there. You crush your goals for a few months, maybe even a whole year, but then life happens. Old habits start to creep back in. You feel yourself slipping, and you wonder, why can't I just be consistent? What is wrong with me? Today, we're talking to somebody who lived that cycle and who broke it. She absolutely broke it. And she's going to share with you exactly how she did it, the mindset shifts it really took. Meg Reed is here with us today, and she has been a long client of ours at the Fitness Project, and she has been absolutely successful with her journey. I am happy to report that after having some slips and challenges along the way, she is now at the healthiest she's ever been mentally, emotionally, and physically. She is 70 pounds down, so we can snap and clap for her with that. So today we're going to be diving into her journey, and we're really going to be showing you how to get out of the pattern of either being all in or all out and really make this the last time you start over with your fitness journey. So get ready to have some life spoken into you, get ready for some truth and the permission that you need in order to reset and really hit all of your goals and make them a new normal in your life. Meg, thank you for joining us. Welcome to Conquer the Day.
Amen.
You are very welcome. We are going to jam and have some fun.
Yeah, so we know that your journey has had ups and downs and challenges and things that have gone awry, but let's walk back to the beginning of your fitness journey, right? Thinking of your starting point. What really led you on this path to wanting to make a change originally, and kind of where were you at physically, mentally, and emotionally in your body, your health, and your habits?
Sure. Well, for this journey specifically, it was kind of now or never. I had some big goals to set. I was turning 30 this year. So over a year ago now, that age was looming, and I was feeling like everything needed to be overhauled. There was a lot of negativity. I felt really in this space that was not serving me. And I was also kind of afraid because every other pattern that I'd ever gotten into kind of fell off after 6 months. So I definitely felt like I was in a place where nothing was going the way I wanted it to go. And that made me really have to reevaluate what I was going to do, and what I could turn to for kind of that next chapter and set the goals that I wanted to set.
Yeah. And when you were thinking about the pattern of the past, what usually happened? Like because I only know as much as the outside. What was like the first 6 to 12 months like when you'd get into those grooves but then fall off? Like what was that pattern actually like for you?
Yeah, I mean, the first 6 to 12 months were always really good, but never great. So I'd be tracking my food. I would be measuring it out. I'd be making sure I hit the gym 3 times a week. I would have what on the surface would look like a lot of progress, but there was a lot of things that still weren't totally aligning. So like physically and mentally, I could fake it just long enough to where it felt like, oh, there's some progress here. Cool. Like we made a change. Nice. And then it would start to unravel. I'd backslide into old patterns. There'd be some sort of either life change or some sort of fundamental thing where like maybe I made a move or maybe a career shift or something would happen. And all of that good and growth and momentum that I thought like I was making, because it was so surface level, none of it stuck. So as soon as that next kind of thing came in, it was like poof, gone, back to the beginning.
Yeah.
What do you think the old patterns that you were holding on to were? Right? Because it's almost like fundamentally when we change for a short period of time, but don't really make it a permanent part, it's almost like we are holding on to our old identity or our old beliefs or our old
Mm-hmm.
values and making a momentary change that is superficial, like body wise, but doesn't last. So, what do you think some of the old patterns, beliefs, or say identities were that you were holding on to that you kept going back to?
Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head as far as holding on to old beliefs.
Mhm.
I think several of those old beliefs I had put in place because at one point they might have served me or protected me in some way, but they were really beliefs that I couldn't lose X amount of weight.
Mm.
I had a lot of all or nothing beliefs that were rooted in perfectionism, and I had attached myself so deeply to that belief that like I had to do it the right way, and there was only one right way, and it had to go smoothly, or it was all just kind of throw it in the trash. It was all a waste of time,
Mm.
and so I really felt like each push that I would make to do that, because the mental wasn't there, the
Yeah.
beliefs weren't, I wasn't doing it for the right reasons either. My motivations weren't aligned either. So I know this about myself. I am a very extrinsically motivated person, and there was a lot of struggle with the why being so connected to what everybody else saw of what I was doing instead of what I saw myself doing, and how I was going to grow as a person. Ooh, that's like even emotional to say, because it is it's such a big transition to what I believe now, and looking back and acknowledging what those beliefs were is like
Mm.
super powerful, but also just like wow, those were so debilitating as beliefs. So to address them and then move past them has been like
Yeah.
huge.
Mm.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So what I'm hearing is you had these beliefs about what had to be done to get to where you want to be, and you didn't believe that you were able to do certain things or that your body was able to do certain things, but you also believed that if it was not perfect or not in that ideal little box, then it wasn't going to be worth your time, wasn't going to be worth your effort. And on top of that,
It was about,
it was
yeah.
the purpose and the reason for doing it was all about how other people saw you versus how you saw yourself.
Yeah, I mean, and I there were moments where I could see, like, oh well, that'll help me in so many areas, and I'd have like
Mm.
a half belief maybe, but I wouldn't fully subscribe to it. I wouldn't fully invest in that like glimmer or that glimpse into like what fully believing that would actually look like, fully trusting in myself, learning to trust myself again. That went out the window after the first, second, third time of trying for 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Because I had then come to feel that I was just destined to fail. Like that was the belief was just shattered. So I think it also just meant rebuilding that too.
Yeah, well, in my understanding too, because I know that you actually had worked with us for a period of time back in like 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and then just kind of stopped working with us for a pretty broad period of time. Went to one of our events. Like there was always contact. We'd see you on Southwest if we were flying, right?
Yes.
So little things like that.
Yes.
But it seems like, and I think I want to put this here for people because I know it is the case for you. It seems like every time you do really well, there would be a change in life, and that's what would also cause you to drift. So
Yes.
it was like you were making a lot of great progress, you had done really well, and you got a new job or something happened in life, and that belief that you can't hold on to the standard would most likely, I don't know because I'll affirm it with you, would be in conflict with what you felt like your current capacity was, and that's where the challenges arise. Is that
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I can pinpoint every kind of chapter of my life where I had been doing well and then where I fell off, but also what kind of shifted in my life that, okay, all of a sudden, because it wasn't this one track or it wasn't what I had started with, suddenly it wasn't aligned anymore. Suddenly the belief had to shift, and I didn't know how to shift it. I didn't know how to make it fluid enough to fit a life where I was growing, or in this case, constantly traveling, constantly moving around. It was just so different that I couldn't find a way to get them both to coexist.
So what actually it makes perfect sense, and I think a lot of people will be nodding.
Well, and that's why I wanted to bring that in, because it wasn't like you just gave up or you reached a
Yeah,
point and you were
yeah.
like, oh, I'm good enough. It was that there, and this is the case. Everyone has their own reasons, but it's like, no, you had like a severe change in your schedule, or you were traveling because you were a flight attendant. It's like these are real
Real.
things
Yeah.
that you didn't know how to have the skills for at that time, right? But what's
Right.
wonderful is you kept trying, right? You
Mhm.
never gave up, and I think that that's the most beautiful thing, because
Yes.
that's what actually allowed you to gain the next skill, right? It's like, I don't know how to do this yet, and then I'm going to continue to figure it out. You never gave up. I know Lindsay had the next question, because but I did want to affirm that that was really key.
Well, while we're there, what made it so you didn't give up?
Well, and you put it that way, that I didn't give up, and I guess in a way I really never gave up of the ultimate goal. But I lost faith in it several times along the way. I kind of moved in and out of that feeling of like, is this all a wash? Am I a failure? Am I destined to be in this position forever? Or, there were moments when, okay, I still have those fundamentals, and I think that might have kept me going through, was having those fundamentals too, and all, like knowing that I did have the skills, like at a base level, like the physical parts of it were skills that I had learned from the first time I worked with you guys. So it wasn't that I didn't have that background. I think just the looming of like, okay, I wanted to make big changes this year. I was at maybe the worst that I had ever been physically, and feeling that so deeply, not being able to recover from injury really well. There were a lot of things that kind of led up to that kind of final decision of like, okay, we're doing this once and for all this time. But yeah.
Oh, what actually changed the game for you then? Once you said once and for all this time, what actually made it change?
Um, the mental piece, 100%. The holding my own self, like myself accountable, instead of needing someone else to do it for me, and completely altering my relationship, not only with myself and how I spoke to myself and how I saw myself, but altering my relationship with food. I think those were like the key pivots for me personally, to be able to say, because how I was looking at it, it wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't doing any change, and I was kind of drowning in that self-loathing, for lack of a better word. I really was like so frustrated with who I saw in the mirror, and I didn't even know who she was, honestly. And I was like, I can't go into my 30s. I can't go into this next year feeling so lost, so unhealthy, so unmotivated. I need to change it. So perhaps rock bottom did that, or maybe just kind of all of the above, all of the different factors hitting me at once. But I would say that realizing those things in a conversation with my coach, Julia, was, the timing was probably perfect too.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then, where are you now, physically and, let's say, mentally? What are the biggest? I'll start mentally. What are the biggest
Yeah.
beliefs that have changed? Because the physical part we already talked about. You've superseded a lot of your progress goals, but what are the biggest beliefs that had to change? And what are
Yeah.
they now? What are they now that
Yeah.
you're really holding on to this new identity?
Well, the first one is that I'm capable of anything I put my mind to, and that's like, as cheesy as that is. No, but I really do. I was so bad at thinking, or my framework of thinking about myself and what I was capable of was always very limited. And so to shift to a system where I did believe that I could do what I had set out to do, and I was very committed this time, and how to like practice that commitment. For example, before I'd even started this particular journey and working with a coach, I had said, oh, I'm just going to do dry January and see how it goes. This is January of last year. And dry January turned into like, well, what was my motivation for doing that, right? That didn't have to be a New Year's goal. Why did I do it? And I had said, oh, because I want to see how it impacts my inflammation, the constant bloat that I have, my hormones, my this, my that. And so it was when I changed my viewing it to being something of a curiosity, it was like, oh, I wonder how I'll feel when I do that. And then it became, oh, I actually really enjoyed that. What if I committed to doing that for longer? And then all of a sudden it became, can I not have a single drink of alcohol for a full year? What would that look like for me? And I set out to finish that goal, and I did. I didn't drink at all last year. That's not to say that that's like big into, my fitness goals, although certainly I think it helped. But I think what it showed me was that I was capable of sticking with something long term, longer than I'd ever committed to maybe something in the past, and shifting that belief to there are more ways to hit goals. There are other ways to, like, drinking a mocktail with friends. There are other ways to say no to things. You don't have to meal prep to get the perfect. And that was also my shifting to my relationship with food. You don't have to necessarily do the perfect portion meal prep thing every day. You can miss tracking some days and still be on track. You can intuitive eat and still, know that your body's getting what it needs, and because you can feel it and you can listen to yourself. You can do things like take a dance class or go on a hike. You don't have to necessarily be in the gym every single day doing the perfect, routine for your biceps or your triceps or whatever. But letting go of that perfectionism was huge, because it reshaped my relationship with all of these things so much so that it allowed me to break through the roadblocks from before.
Amen.
What do you think now in retrospect? What do you think that the perfectionism mindset or the hold it has on people, why does that actually exist? What do you now that you've been through it?
I think there are a lot of things. I think as a daughter of a teacher, I grew up in the education system, and I had a lot of eyes on me all the time, and I never wanted to let anybody down. I also think I didn't want to let people down, and I enjoyed competition. I enjoyed that competitive spirit of like wanting to be the best at everything, needing to be the best at everything. And for a really long time in my head, I was like, I excelled in everything I had put my mind to. And so when I looked really closely at weight loss or like the body that I wanted or the mindset that I wanted, that was the one thing that I never could fully get like a hold of. I could never perfect that part. And when I had done everything else so perfectly for so long, again, it was that identity that I attached to so firmly. I'm sure there's more to it than that. That's at the top of mind, like perhaps where my personal perfectionism came from, where I needed to have, and it's control. I mean, you boil it down to it's control. I liked to be in the driver's seat, even when I was kind of faking it. When I wasn't fully in control, I had to give off the appearance that I was, because again, I did care a lot about what other people think. And so having that control meant, they see me as in control. And even that perception I assumed was better than nothing at all.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful answer.
Where did you actually start to break through? The threshold moment of like, we got to just do this. That's one big breakthrough, but then you got to do the work, right? That's not easy.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Honestly, I was doing the pattern really well when I started on this most recent, growth journey. And that first like 3 to 6 months, everything was going. I was tracking my food. I was doing my check-ins. I was doing everything so perfectly, right? Like, and certainly I had like this big kickoff that I had released a lot of negativity. So that kind of comes naturally from that anyway. It was easy to slide into these changes because I had started off with such a big bang, so to speak, anyway. But I think when I plateaued around the holidays, which I know a lot of people tend to, do, but it was something where that was kind of where I had always plateaued in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I had always kind of hit that weight. I'd always kind of hit that milestone and been like, okay, here we are. But I knew going into this that wasn't enough for me. And it was probably when I had spent a whole call with my coach just crying and grieving. I was going through a lot of grief. And I said to her, I said, I know you're not my therapist, so I'm going to apologize right now because this is probably not going to be like a productive coaching call. This is me just like bearing my soul to you. And I said, but I am going to promise you that I'm going to get mental health, seek actual therapy, so that this can be a more productive coaching mentor, like relationship, and that the mental, I can take it a step further and do the mental work that I need to do. So it was probably from that point, honestly, where it's like, okay, to break through this plateau, because this is where I always fall off, like how many people can I get in my corner, clinically or otherwise, to help boost me through this difficult time and let me see results again. And within like a month of doing that, I was back like having progress. So
Amen.
yeah.
Nice.
Shout out to all the therapists out there. We love you. But it was really that moment that pushed me. I'd say to the other side of like, okay, we're doing the mental work now because I've got all of the things. I'm really focused on this part.
Beautiful.
That's fantastic. I am curious, when you think of where you're at now, right? How would you describe this current place with your relationship with yourself and your body? Right, because I think that's the ultimate goal. You said that I remembered the ultimate goal, but what was the ultimate goal, and where would you describe yourself now? Like, do you feel like you're more at peace with your body? Do you feel like you're more at home with your body? What would the anchoring moment be in this moment, so that not only does it serve you, but it might serve someone else who's kind of reframing their goal, right? And they're thinking, okay, maybe I want more than just weight loss. Maybe I want more than just the way I feel about my body. Maybe there's more to this goal.
Sure.
It's like you're asking her what's the other side, basically.
The other side. Well, I've got to be honest. Sometimes I have to remind myself that I am kind of on the other side. There is still body dysmorphia that I feel daily. I am in a new vessel. It is different than pretty much for most of my adult life than I've known it, just to put it frankly. So relearning what that's like and testing newer limits with my body, I think is like, can be kind of jarring at first. But I will say it is also so incredibly empowering to see what that version of me can do and how those identity pieces have fallen into place. Because I feel that I'm a very outgoing person. I'm a giver. There are so many things about that identity that can still exist in this body. And I think figuring out, again, kind of those beliefs in that new body, right? Like how can I continue to bring that character into somebody that looks like I look, who feels how I feel every day? How can I marry these now that we're on this side, but also not let go of the growth? And that's the other thing. It's like, okay, I can't stop having goals, because as soon as I lose sight of them, it disappears. And I can't stop celebrating the wins either. I think acknowledging where you've come from is really such a powerful tool. And it's something that I've often shy away from because I don't enjoy looking at who that person was. But it is me. It is who I was, and it's who I've grown from. And being able to celebrate that is also really important in being present in who I am now physically and mentally,
Yeah.
and everything that I'm capable of. Everything she said she was going to do, she did it and then some. And now she's going to do even more.
Yeah.
So having that framework, or having that mindset is awesome.
Well, one thing I would give
Powerful.
people to consider, and I would use my own example because it might not be the same for you. Obviously I came from bodybuilding, and I had what most would consider a perfect physique, right? And it was perfect. I was very proud of it. And even when it was at its best, I never felt like it was good enough, right? Because that's the nature of the competition. And so today, I'll look at my body and it's still, this could be better and that could be better. And there's all these deficits. And I think that it's okay for it to not feel perfect. Right. And you can feel it comfortable and confident. And you could always say that, for me, it's like, hey, I want to be able to move better or jump better, be less pain free. And you know what? Maybe I do want bigger biceps, or maybe there is something I want to change about it. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I have found when I start judging myself about not being a certain way in comparison to myself, which is hard when you're comparing to yourself because you know what you're capable of versus other people when you're like, oh, I probably never look like that. But what I find is it's also helpful to just be at peace with where you are if it's where you want to be. If it's not where you want to be, well, then you have the opportunity to change it. But I wanted to give that little tidbit there because you were kind of talking about how, well, I'm still getting used to this new body and it's still this foreign, it feels foreign at times. It's this is like almost like I'm walking out on the ledge or the ice and I don't know if it's going to crack and I'm going to fall through. I,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
find I find for people who might be hearing this or even for yourself that it's being okay with, what, I am at my best and it might never feel perfect. I'll still find flaws and I can acknowledge what's good, but if I can't, if it's hard for me, that's okay too. The most important thing is, am I doing the thing? Am I healthy? Am I taking care of myself? Am I keeping my word to myself? That I think is so much more valuable than emotionally how we feel. Because emotionally, we might never feel perfect, right? We might never
Mhm.
feel blissful at all times. I can guarantee you we won't. So being able to say, like, hey, I can acknowledge my work, my effort, my actions, and find peace or just find acceptance, I think that also helps too when you're on the other side.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally agree. That peace point, just being at peace with it, and accepting that maybe like satisfaction isn't what all that it's, I don't know, meant to be. Like satisfaction can be different things. Satisfaction can be peace. Satisfaction can be, I did 15 minutes of movement today, even if it wasn't crazy, or I ate mindfully today, even if it wasn't, so getting rid of that perfectionism and being at peace with it, both in the journey and in the after is,
Yeah.
I think,
Results.
really important.
Well, you said something really important that I'm going to tie this point down with, and then I have another question. You said, I can't stop setting goals. And for somebody who has been in this very long cycle of they kill it for 6 months, they fall off for a year, something along those lines. What happened was, yes, something disrupted you, but you also stopped setting goals. And I know this to be true because even for myself, after 10 years of being what other people would consider in great shape, I've still had times where I actually was expecting my body to get worse instead of having a goal that challenged me to make my health better. And it was catching that moment of why am I expecting to look in the mirror and see something worse than yesterday? And that's my new habit. No, we need to set a goal. Like we need to make progress. And it doesn't mean body fat percentage or weight, but it needs to be something that feels like progress in your health category of life. So I want to call that out because that is one of the key pieces that's missing for most people who stay in that big long cycle. So they just get to the point of satisfaction and they think, oh, this area doesn't need to improve. Health is something that you have to keep focusing on for it to improve because we're all dying. We're all dying. So if you don't set a goal, then you aren't going to improve your health. But tying that down, I'm curious, Meg, what about the structure of having both coaching and therapy was so supportive for you?
Sure. I think that having the therapy so that I could focus on the mental work that I needed to do, because I knew it was such a big component of what I needed to do. Whereas the coaching allowed me to focus on the fundamental habits, right? So the scheduling was a big thing that coaching helped me with. I have never utilized my Google Calendar the way that I do now. And because again, goal setting, if it wasn't right there in front of me and I didn't have my goal for the day written down, I didn't have the appointment on the calendar, gosh, I couldn't tell you what day it was, what time it was, where I was. Like, I wasn't sure. I didn't know. And I think not having certainty in that, it made everything else really difficult and it made it hard to be consistent. So I think the marriage of that with also the showing up to do the mental health work that therapy was allowing me to do was a really great combination for me. It meant that I could deal with the emotional stuff, kind of like Brian mentioned earlier. I think like we get so tied and bogged down in our emotions, and I am a very emotional person. I am an empath, so like I feel things really deeply, but sometimes a lot longer than I need to, right? If I'm being honest with myself, I'm living in it for much longer than if I just acknowledged it, processed it, and moved on and didn't let it control every aspect of my day. But for a really long time, that's all it did. Mm-hmm. So I think having somebody that I could just sound off all of the emotional trauma to, all of the stress that I was dealing with in that aspect, and then I could focus on, okay, these were the goals that I set. This is how I'm getting there with a coach who is also still really great at acknowledging the mental roadblocks, but that's not what that was for. Our relationship was so that I could get fit, I could hit my weight loss goals, I could get strong, I could get, whatever those growth goals were. And do those things with an accountability with somebody in my corner.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think the difference is coaching is really area specific on the outcome and the lifestyle habits and the structures that we need to be successful in it.
Strategies, right. Systems.
Obviously for us, all of our coaches are trained in mindfulness. We come from a mindset coaching background, performance coaching coupled with nutrition and training. So it's like, oh, we can help you break a belief. We can help you reframe this. We can help you adopt a new mindset, but it's when it's pervasive and it's not going forward. It's this repeating cycle. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, you want to compartmentalize that, go in this direction and get exact support. And then that makes coaching so much more effective, right?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. And transparently, like that's another part of that loop that every time I'd come back to coaching, I felt bad somewhere inside, or guilty even, that I kept revisiting these mind blocks, these roadblocks over and over again. And it's like, I know we've worked through them. I know Brian and Lindsay have given me such great, checks on my beliefs. And so has my coach. And so is all the, I know that these are things that I'm still struggling with and I don't have it to the full extent. So like being able to jump and say, okay, getting more specific help on these mental things are going to make it so much better in the work that I'm doing with the coaching.
I celebrate that in a huge way. That takes a lot of self-awareness and courage.
It really does. Yes. Self-awareness and courage, because it's a deep dive, but it's beautiful.
Indeed.
So, Meg, I would be curious, as we're tying this down, I want you to kind of stand on your soapbox for a little bit. If you haven't already, if you haven't already, then I want you to talk to the person who maybe has been struggling for a bit and they feel like they resonate with your story. They might be 30, they might be 40, they might even be 50, right? They might have even had those stints where they didn't reverse, or there's been other life challenges. What encouragement would you give to that person who feels like they might have been failing and they're sitting with the failure in this moment? What encouragement might you give them? Maybe some beliefs or even some tactical, hey, just go and do this. This is where you start. What might you encourage them with?
I'd say don't be ashamed to go after the help that you need in whatever avenue it is. Don't be ashamed to fully invest in your goals and what you're looking for, because acknowledging it is a big step, but then actually going out and doing it is huge. So often I felt in my past journeys that I had hit a certain point too where I could no longer invest in myself. I wasn't able to justify making that investment. I wasn't able to justify the time, the money, the mental effort. Like I wasn't able to do those things. And so believing that your desires, those things that you hold and that you don't voice very often, are important and are fundamental for your future, for everything you want to be, like making sure that you take that and run with it and believe in it fully. Because if you don't, like, you'll just get stuck in the loop like I did. And that's not a fun loop to be in. I get it. It feels debilitating. It feels like failure. It feels like you're destined to just kind of be in this cycle forever. And that's not the case. But being willing to put everything into to get what you're going to get out of whatever changes you're looking to make. It's so you have to do it. Don't let past failures keep you from your future successes. Yeah, that's what I would say.
That is an Instagram quote.
Bang bang.
Nice.
I love it.
That was beautiful. I think beautiful. I can't add any more. Meg, how good does it feel to trust yourself again, by the way?
Really good. Like amazing. I know it's like so strange to have not for so long, but then also like this is so cheesy. It feels like a love story. Like, wow, like I trust myself again. Like it's so nice to be like, oh, gut check. Like you were right about that. Like you trusted yourself enough to make a decision, and it didn't lead you astray. You didn't second guess yourself. You didn't, yeah, it's a lovely thing.
It's beautiful.
It's the most important relationship you have.
Yes, it's a repaired and renewed relationship, which is something that we all can create within ourselves. And you're a beautiful example of that. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Excellent. So let's hit some quick fire and then we will wrap up. So this is beautiful. First, knowing that you've made this beautiful transformation, you've repaired your relationship with yourself, what is your favorite anchor habit? Something that keeps you on track or brings you back?
I'm gonna go with the calendar thing. I mentioned the calendar. If it's not on the calendar, I don't know about it. I'm just schedule your workout, schedule your time that you're eating and how you're doing it mindfully. What even if you're a big meal tracker person, that was not something towards the end of my journey that I was really attached to. But again, like being able to, I know Lindsay did something about this the other day where if you know what your schedule is going to look like, you can pre-track kind of what you're expecting to eat. And that way you're going to know you're looking at, oh, we're going out to this restaurant. Okay, putting that in. That was something that was anchored in scheduling and making sure that those things were there so that I didn't have to question. I didn't have to guess. It was all right there in front of me. So I would say that and it made sure that I was prioritizing time for the things that then made a big difference, like my mental health appointments, my whatever. Put it on the schedule.
Yeah, I'm flying through Baltimore and they have Chipotle, right? It's like,
yes, I know what that option is. I mean, and I needed to repair that relationship with food too, to where I wasn't walking through Baltimore looking for anything whatsoever, because I knew that was a big downfall for me personally. But understanding how you work with that kind of stuff and figuring that out is really key. If you're somebody that can walk through Baltimore and say, oh, I didn't prep anything, I know Chipotle is going to be the best option. And I know what my mindfulness, like I know what my order looks like there to get a good, ratio of everything. Great. More power to you. For me, I couldn't touch any. I had to be like,
locked in.
Nothing.
Well,
but I had it on schedule.
We've been there. Yes, we've been there so many times that every time I'm like, is there anything I want here? Is there anything I want?
I always hope there's a new restaurant, but anywho,
maybe when they finish building the concourse, whenever that comes.
What is one book that has changed your life? What's one book, or maybe there's one influence that's
Ooh.
changed your life most?
That's a hard question because I've also done one of my goals is 30 books for my 30th year, and I'm at 25 right now, or 24 books. So I'm ahead of the pace.
Wow.
I've loved reading, which is great. The one that I started the year off though was, I'll give you two. The first one was The Midnight Library.
I read that one too.
That book. And I think that was, again, kind of with the mental health piece, like it really triggered me and it made me think, all of these different versions, and there's only the one that you're living right now. Like, what version are you going to write? And that was kind of the powerful message from that book. But the other one is the Let Them Theory, which I'm sure you've also heard of, which was really powerful when I was going through some changes and some grief and some things that felt super personal, and I had to stop taking it personally.
Oh,
so I would say those two.
Oh, man. Whole podcast on not taking things personally.
Yeah.
And we did that one. Man.
Easier said than done, but yeah, it's a great read. It's a good book.
That's awesome. Last one, and it's a slight variation, but what's the one habit you need to conquer your day to feel like you've had a great day?
Ooh. Yeah. Some sort of movement, even if it's a walk, even if it's a few minutes, some sort of physical activity, getting outside, getting some fresh air, something just outside of the dwelling is so important.
Amen. Yeah. Simple enough, and it always works.
Simple.
So, Meg,
always good.
Congratulations on all you've achieved. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for being brave enough to take on this challenge and continue to move forward. We're so proud of you. We're so grateful for you. And
so happy for you.
It's life-changing, right? We look forward to all the great success you're going to have going forward. So really proud of you. And for everyone else who's here, who's listening, we hope this has been impactful. We hope that there's some nuggets of wisdom that you can latch onto and bring throughout your life. And now go out and conquer your day.
Cheers.
Cheers.